Well, hi, everyone. Happy Monday. We are in for another episode of Live with Disruptive Nutrition. So if you are here with me, joining me, put a hello in the comments so that I know that you're here and that I know who I'm talking to. I'm really excited today. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Mondays are always to me like a fresh start, right? And I always say nothing magical happens like January 1st. Nothing magical happens on a Monday, but there is this like emotional reset in a lot of ways. But what I don't want to happen is that it's like, I just, forget it. I'll just start again on Monday. No, that I'm going to work around with you today. And also recognizing that Monday is a reset. You can have both. It's like a both and. And in this little reset kind of a Monday, I am thinking about how I can work with you to just get back to the basics. Okay. So it was my daughter's birthday yesterday. She's 17 years old. Holy cow. And I've done a lot of reflecting over this past weekend because, and actually, my father has the same birthday. My dad is 75 and my daughter is 17. I always joke that I didn't have a gift for my dad when I was pregnant. And so I gave him his first grandchild, which I thought was a pretty cool gift. Right. And so as I was sort of thinking about them and how long 17 years has been, but yet how fast it's gone by, how much younger my dad was, and how fast it goes by. But I also know that, like, as I was looking at both of them and we were celebrating both of them, both in very different stages of their life, we had breakfast together and we all ate the same way. And it was just hitting me like how basic this knowledge is, but yet how most of us don't know it. And it isn't complicated. The way that we need to fuel our body and what we need to do to serve it is about going back to the basics. And it's so simple that my dad at 75 and my daughter at 17, as well as my nephew at 4, all live this lifestyle. And so, yeah, as I was just sort of thinking about this weekend, I was like, we're going to get back to the basics because there are so many topics I can talk about within health and wellness. There are so many things that I think we need to dig into to truly be able to understand our body, what it needs. Every body is different. But yet there are some basic fundamentals that sometimes we get away from because we can bury ourselves in the details. And I don't know, this weekend was just one of reflection for me and realizing like, gosh, if we could just do the basic fundamentals consistently over time, we're going to have success. It's like, I guess part of my reflections came on the fact that my daughter's going to be 18 in a year. And I look back and say, did I do all the things I wanted to do with her? Did I show her all the ways? Did I complement her life so that she has the skills that she needs? And I wasn't perfect. Oh gosh, I think about so many of the things that I have done over the years that I cringe at. And I think, gosh, I really screwed her up. And then I look at her and I look at the woman that she's becoming and I realize I actually think I put forward the basic fundamentals consistently over time. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't. But parenting isn't about the latest trends. Yeah, we could read a million books. And in fact, over on my bookshelf, there are books all on parenting and on eating. And at the end of the day, it really is about applying some basic concepts to our kids, showing them love, showing them understanding, giving them boundaries and discipline, and giving them grace and kindness. Our goal as parents is to raise independent adults. And I don't care how many parenting books you look at, there's a lot of different ways you could be thinking about that and implementing it. But at the end of the day, that's the basic concepts, right? That's a basic formula. And so we're going to get into the basics of what we teach so we can just strip it all down and really get into it. Because here's the thing. I know that so many of you, especially new people that are coming on board and listening to us, have tried so many different things. You keep thinking that you've done everything and you've tried it all. But at the end of the day, you actually haven't done the most basic thing that our body needs. And I'm going to share with you what that is and then how to do it, because There's so much confusion out there. I get the feed on my Instagram and on the Facebook, and I know you do too, partly because you're in this group. And so Facebook looks and sees where you are or what you're listening to, and then fills your feed with that kind of stuff. So I know that you're getting a ton of confusion out there. Fasting, keto, tracking your stuff on an app, Noom, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Octavia, buying the packaged food, having shakes all day, like so much there. And it's very convincing, right? It's very compelling to think of all these stories of people that have lost 20 pounds, 30 pounds. You're like, oh my gosh. Okay. But what I want you to know is the basic fundamentals that your body needs, because my goal is that you never, ever diet again and you have a path for success. Okay. It's not, this is not going to be a long session, like it's a regular kind of podcast length, but I would say to you, I think you're going to get a ton of value. I would like for you to take notes if you can. If you're driving or whatever, don't worry about it. You go back and listen to it. But if you can, take some notes on this, because I hopefully will drop some truth bombs to you that allow you to, when you see the feed, that you can just swipe past it, that you could just be done. Okay. So I'm going to show you how you can have the success that you want to have, even if you've like at the point of giving up, or you just feel like you need to try something new. Before you go and try anything new, well, even if you haven't been able to lose weight for a long term, for the long time, even if you feel like you've tried everything, I am going to say to you, you haven't tried this. And for those of you that have been following us for a while and been trying to do this, I hope this will really help, because this will get you back to the basics. We have a proven process. It works for all of our clients who engage and who are coachable, who are committed and ready. Okay. Even if you think you've tried it all, this isn't about doing something trendy. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about doing something simple, sustainable, and satisfying. Okay. It's what you can and should teach your kids. So when I think about that breakfast yesterday, right, with a 4-year-old and a 17-year-old and a 75-year-old all eating the same way, what diet have you ever been on that's like that? We didn't talk about food. Everybody just ordered. They knew what they needed to order. They knew what was going to serve their body. And the amazing thing, it was a birthday breakfast that we had. You go all out, but like what you want and what your body needs often correlate when you treat your body right. I am going to teach you the basics today. And this is not about a quick fix. This is not about like some magic solution. It is not about counting calories. Just get it out of your brain. I know we're conditioned to think we need to do that, but we promise. It's not that this is like super easy peasy with no work and no commitment. It's not. But if you've ever like counted calories or gone without carbs, it's so much easier than that. It's just that the diet industry and so much out there has us convinced that we have to do something different. But again, remember, there is one thing that your body needs that no diet is teaching you or telling you about. And that's the basics. Okay. And that's what we have to understand, because if you don't understand this one basic concept, you won't be doing it for sure. If you do any of the things that you like, that the diet industry tells you to do, that are scrolling through your Facebook screen or Facebook page, you're not going to be focused on the one thing I'm going to tell you need to be focused on. And the longer you stay on what I call that dieting roller coaster, or don't focus on that one thing, you are not only never going to release that weight that you want to, but even more importantly, you put your body at risk for every single metabolic disease out there, from diabetes to cancer, strokes, to heart disease, obesity, high cholesterol, dementia, heart attacks, premature aging. This actually is a matter of life and death for all of us. This isn't about wanting to look good in a bathing suit. This has to be around understanding that this is one of our coaches says this is the last first date of any nutritional approach you ever need to go on. If that sounds exciting to you, I want you to write first date in the comments, because a first date is exciting, right? But imagine going on that first date knowing that is the last first date you'll ever have to go on. Imagine, like, you don't even know that going into a first date, right? You look back on it and you appreciate it. But imagine going into the first date knowing this is it. Okay. And if you aren't convinced by the end of this, then I don't want you to work with us yet. I don't want you to dig in yet. I don't want you to dig in until you're truly ready, because what's going to happen is if you keep thinking all the solutions or everything else that's out there, or your friend or your neighbor that lost 40 pounds doing something, first of all, check in with her in 6 months and after she's gained it back plus more, or because she's done it in an unhealthy way, she's not actually putting herself at a better place for long-term health, right? If you're still not really committed to this, then just stick around. And I don't want you to work with us yet, like formally, because if you're not fully convinced and you're not going to fully engage, and if you don't fully engage, then we're not going to be able to get you to the place where you're really, really successful. And I'd rather you wait and keep going around the mountain, because this truly is it. Okay. So we are going to, let me kind of dig into what I know is going on with so many people right now. And then I'm going to tell you about that one thing that we need, and then the basics of how to do that. So if you've ever jumped into a program before and you saw results and then you plateaued or you gained all the weight back, that is common. That's what's supposed to happen when you don't do this the right way, because the general population of health pros out there, fitness pros, diet programs, do not focus on the one thing that our bodies need. And so therefore you keep trying to force your body to get the weight off instead of working with your body. And we call it speaking your body's love language. Okay. So instead of, if you're speaking your body's love language, if you're speaking your spouse's love language, your relationship works better. It's so much more effective. Okay. So if you're forcing this to happen, then you're never going to be able to do it long-term. Okay. I get it. Everything out there is so confusing. I work directly with other health pros, with fitness trainers, with health coaches, with doctors to educate them, because even what they have been taught is not actually about the one thing that we really need. In fact, 75% of medical schools have doctors do 10 hours or less of nutritional training. So if your doctor isn't giving you nutritional advice or just telling you to lose the weight or telling you to go on a certain diet like keto, understand that actually my clients have more training in nutrition than your doctor does. That's not okay. And so you have to take control of your own health. You have to be empowered to understand so you can do. And as far as I'm concerned, you have a responsibility then to be able to share with others, like your doctor, like your neighbors, all of that kind of stuff. Okay. So I want you to know that there is hope that we can do this. Put in the chat hope. Because I know so many of you, I talk to women all the time, have been dieting for like what, 10, 20, 30 years? Yeah, that's decades of your time that you're never getting back. Like I always say, we can make more money. We can never make more time. We cannot keep doing this, but we can't go back. I know that, but we absolutely can go forward. So it doesn't matter to me how long you've been on this roller coaster. What I teach, what my coaches teach, what we do at Disruptive Nutrition will help you. It's going to, regardless of how long you've been riding this ridiculous roller coaster, regardless of your age, your history, all of that. And when you can implement the one thing that I know everybody needs, it's amazing how you're going to be able to have more energy, sleep better, joint pain improves, your clothes fit better, all of those things. Okay. So this is what's super, super important. So I'm going to outline for you exactly what we need to do. We're literally getting back to the basics, okay? And showing you kind of the exact plan in some ways about what your bodies really need, okay? So here's the thing. The one thing that diets don't focus on and why they will always fail is the root cause of all metabolic disease and hormonal imbalances. Wait, what? So the thing that diets don't focus on, the thing that diets don't teach you is actually the root cause of all of those metabolic diseases and hormonal imbalances. The root cause of all those metabolic diseases that I mentioned before is an imbalance in blood sugar. What? I'm going to tell you about Coach Joanna. Coach Joanna actually is a diabetic educator. She's a certified pharmacist who has been working with veterans for more than 20 years who are diagnosed diabetic. She came to us about 4 years ago, not being able to lose the weight, had 3 kids, working all the time, and really frustrated. When I taught her that blood sugar stabilization is the thing, she even said, wait, what? Because what they have been taught is that your body will just do it on its own and you don't have to worry about it until you're diabetic. Well, 1 out of 2 people in America are pre-diabetic or diabetic. What? So if our bodies have the ability to do that, and we shouldn't have to worry about blood sugar stabilization, what is up with that statistic? Like what? Right? And then let's think about this. If 72% of people are considered obese. Now, I'm going to say to you that the standard of quote unquote obese in American medical language is ridiculous, but 72% of people, and I feel like this is just all of us, are all looking to figure out how they can lose weight and like just get healthier, right? 50% of the population goes on a diet every year. So 72% of people are looking to get healthier and release weight and do the things that they need to do for their body. And 50% of them are going on a diet, but yet 72% of them are not healthy and overweight. There is a mismatch there. What keeps happening is that our effort does not match the outcome. Dr. Casey Means, who is an expert in blood sugar stabilization, says there is this effort outcome mismatch. And that shouldn't be happening. I'll give you another really quick example of what's so powerful. The fact that Joanna didn't know about this, but it made so much sense. She has seen so much success in the last 4 years. She coaches others now and just thinks, how are we missing this in our education? This is what she's an expert in for more than 20 years, right? She had no idea about how important it was to be proactive. And if the root cause of all metabolic disease and hormonal imbalances is an imbalance in blood sugar, how are we not recognizing that as the thing that we need to be doing for our body? Okay, so I recently went to the doctor. I tell my members actually knew this. We have an amazing membership group, and my members learned about this well before even my family did, believe it or not. But I found out about, I want to say a little over a month ago, maybe it was 6 weeks ago now, that I, at not even 47, am in full menopause. My body has not really told me that, but all of my testing came back and it's very obvious. And my body has been telling me certain things, but I haven't been getting a lot of the typical hot flashes and hormonal imbalances that present physically in a woman's body, especially at my age. Now, why is that happening? We're not really sure. I don't have a genetic disposition for that. And I went through years and years of infertility. I had horrible eating habits, a terrible relationship with food. I had cycles that were completely out of control, and was on years and years of fertility. So your body has a muscle memory. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. And so there is some correlation that we believe happened in my body based on all of these years of trauma in a lot of ways and stress. But what my doctor said to me is, how are you not having all of these symptoms? And he said, remind me again what you teach to women about nutrition. He goes, because you do realize that it's all about insulin resistance, insulin resistance, blood sugar stabilization, right? Like he said that to me before I could even answer him. And I was like, you realize what I teach? Do you realize what I teach? And it was like, it hit home in that moment, even though I know it. And I've worked with so many women in menopause and been able to see how hot flashes go away. I was like, wait, what? Yes. And I've been living this lifestyle for so long now that even though my body has this kind of horrendous history that is being impacted today, I'm not experiencing what I should be in terms of side effects because of how my blood sugar is stabilized. And it has been for years. And so I want you to really be thinking about what the concept of blood sugar stabilization is and why it's so important and why I know that everybody needs it. So I want you to think about a time that you're really, really hungry, like hangry. Okay. I want you to write in the comments, hangry. And then write to me, what is it that you go for? What is it that you crave when you are so hungry? Because let's be honest, you can't do anything, right? If you're really hangry. What do you do when you're hangry? What does hangry look like for you? I am like, I can't function. I want to know what hangry looks like for you. And here's the thing. Whenever I ask women, like, what do you do when you're hungry? What do you go for? Women almost apologetically like, oh, chips, anything I can get my hand on, salty, chocolate, like, right? Bread, whatever's in the pantry. I joke that when I'm hangry, my house could be on fire and I am like grabbing a bag of chips on my way out the door. I love chips, salt and vinegar chips are my hangry food. So tell me what your hangry food is. And the reason why I'm asking you that is because it is so obvious that everybody needs to have their blood sugar stabilized, because everybody tells me the same answers. You're looking for sugar. Your blood sugar is so low. And remember, carbs are sugar. Your blood sugar is so low that your body is craving that. That is not you and a lack of willpower. And if you say to me, oh, I have such a sugar craving, or I have terrible sugar cravings, or I'm a chocoholic, you almost feel like it's your fault, that you don't have enough willpower, that you don't have enough control. But if you have not been consciously balancing your blood sugar on a regular basis, then your body is out of whack and it needs those sugars. And that's what it's telling you. You just don't know that it's your physical craving versus an emotional one. I just got off the phone with a woman named Kim the other day, and they went to Kim and her wife went to a gala and a celebration, and they had food and they were able to eat and all of that. And then the cheesecake came out at the end. And Kim said to me, I didn't even want it. My body didn't even like, it was so not a problem. And she had said to me months, 6 weeks before, when I had first started talking to her about working with us, that was like a major issue for her. And it was incredible that she didn't need it or want it. And it was just an example of how we think it's us. We think it's our willpower. We think we have no control. But when we give our body what it wants, it does for us what we always wanted it to do. Your body has been trying to be your best friend. It's just been trying to regulate itself, and it can't do a very good job at it. So let's go back to what Coach Joanna said about how they've been trained that your body can balance its blood sugar on its own. It can, but it's not very good at it. And it needs a little help along the way. So I want you to think about, our body can balance its blood sugar on its own, and it can balance its blood sugar with food. It's much less effective to do it on its own. And then if we put in the wrong kinds of foods that don't actually support blood sugar stabilization, your body has to work extra hard to then be able to try to correct it. It's constantly trying to recalibrate itself. To me, it's like, like when you have your GPS and you keep going the wrong way, and it keeps saying recalculating. Well, if you keep going the opposite way that the GPS does, it's just going to keep trying to recalculate. And I love, because the GPS never gets mad at you, right? It's never like, hey, will you start listening to me? It's just going to keep going recalculating. But it's not going to get you there if you don't follow it. At the end of the day, it can try to keep recalculating, but unless you actually follow the path that it's supposed to go on, you're never going to get there. And that's what we're doing with our bodies. We keep forcing it to recalculate, and we're never pointing it in the right direction to follow the directions. So yes, our body has the capability to try to balance its blood sugar on its own. But if you keep turning in the wrong direction, it's never going to be able to do it. And then eventually it shuts down. And how does it shut down? It shuts down by then producing a lot of these diseases that are totally unnecessary. When it comes to diabetes and heart disease and strokes and cancer and so many pieces of the puzzle, the foundation, the most basic piece of this is helping your body listen to the GPS by balancing its blood sugar. So when your blood sugar is really low, understand that your body needs to release certain hormones to try to balance it. And it needs to try to find the nutrients that you're not giving it with food. Where does it do that? It does it from your muscles. And when your body tries to keep balancing its blood sugar by pulling the nutrients from your muscles, understand, and this is what happens with diets, you're pulling fat from the wrong places because you need the fat in your muscles. And so if your body is pulling fat from your muscles, you're not getting rid of the inflammatory fat, which is actually the fat that's holding you accountable to your oversize, like to being overweight. It's pulling from the fat that you actually need. And then what it's doing is throwing your entire body off course. Our body craves homeostasis. When your body is balanced, there's no stress. Stress releases cortisol. And it's not just stress from the outside. We have a ton of that, right? The stress that you put your body on when you're on that blood sugar roller coaster, when you are depriving it, releases cortisol, which also spikes your blood sugar. And when you spike your blood sugar, either by eating too much of like not balanced in the way that we teach, eating too much because you're so hungry that you just overeat, or when you have high levels of stress internally going on with your body because of what you're doing to it, the signals that you're sending it, or the stress that's going on outside of your life, that releases cortisol, which spikes your blood sugar. When we spike our blood sugar, we have to try to release insulin innately to try to correct it. When that happens, our body continues to try to recalculate, and you're getting more and more lost because you're never turning in the direction it needs. So how do we do that? I'm like getting myself all worked up. How do we do this? How do we get our blood sugar stabilized? Well, I want you guys to think about the fact that when we have the right nutrients in the right portions and the right frequency, we can stabilize our blood sugar. This is so much simpler than you realize, but nuanced, because we don't understand food. That's the bottom line. If you think that protein is found in nuts, you don't know enough about food. Now, I'm not saying there is no protein in nuts, but that is not the protein that you need. If you are not sure about like eggs, are they a protein? Are they a fat? Are there carbs in there? Vegetables? What is food? Then you're never going to be able to really understand how to balance your blood sugar. To me, it is about education. Remember, you guys, I was an educator for more than 20 years. When you understand food and you understand how it works in your body, how you use it to balance your blood sugar, it is incredible, because what your body was trying to do for you before was recalculate. You weren't speaking the same language. Your body's saying one thing, you're saying another. Your body's saying, hey, my blood sugar's all out of whack. You're saying, oh gosh, I have no control. I have to eat less. Whew. We just keep missing in our communication. But when you start giving your body the right food in the right portions and the right frequency, understanding how protein, fats, and carbs work together and how they were meant to work together, how when you eat protein, fats, and carbs, it releases the glucagon, yes, which spikes your blood sugar, but it also then naturally allows you to release insulin because you're giving yourself protein. It doesn't have to do it on its own. And fat allows you to absorb that protein in the carbs. It allows you to digest your food slower, so it speeds up your metabolism. And when you do that consistently, think about this. We want stability with our blood sugar. So that doesn't mean we have different size food, different size meals. We have a big dinner or a big breakfast, because when we eat food with all different portion sizes, then we're not stable. This is so much simpler than you realize. It is back to the basics. Your body needs its blood sugar to be stabilized. And you know that because when you are super hungry, you can't do anything. When you are super full, you feel like garbage. You get like a little brain fog and you have no energy. That is because your body is literally recalculating. And if you could just start driving the path that it wants to drive, you are going to get there. You are going to arrive at your destination. But the longer and longer you keep turning in a different direction from where your body wants to go, the more your body has to adapt, the more lost it's going to get, and the harder and harder it is to reach your destination. And unfortunately, your body can only do that for so long. I want you to think about like this, like a slingshot, right? And at some point, the slingshot is going to have to release the stone that's in it. And so your body can only recalculate for so long before, boom, that slingshot goes. And then you are in a place of massive risk for your health. So what I want is women who are like in their 20s and 30s to listen to me. Because if I was in my 20s or 30s, I don't know this, but I feel very confident that if I had done what I did finally in my 40s, in my 20s, first of all, I would have had a better relationship with my body and food. How much more could I have done? And I don't know that I would be experiencing the same level of issues I have hormonally with my menopause. I also am convinced that because of all of the fertility issues I had, that was a direct result of my health. My health was in a really bad spot. And had I been able to do everything I could have done in my 20s and 30s, and if I still had those infertility issues, fine. At least I knew I did what was in my control. You have the control to be able to change the things that you need to change if you just get back to the basics. I want you to stop on that Facebook feed. Stop looking at all of the other things, because if it doesn't focus on blood sugar stabilization, you will not get there. Now, let me tell you, keto, we've been starting to get the word out. I will tell you that. And I have been seeing certain advertisements talk about blood sugar stabilization. Yet you cannot talk about blood sugar stabilization and not having carbs. You cannot have to track your food in an app if you're actually talking about blood sugar stabilization. It's not necessary. You cannot have to count your calories if you're talking about blood sugar stabilization. If you are depriving yourself of any of the food, then you are not getting to your optimal health. Understand, we cannot release the weight if it's the weight that we have is a symptom of health and hormones. We cannot release it for the long term if we don't get healthy first. The only way to get healthy is to focus on your quality of food and your blood sugar stabilization. That is how you're going to get to your optimal health, because that is what helps balance your hormones. And that is what helps balance your entire body. That is what gives you and your body the chance to talk to each other so that intuitively you understand what it's saying and then you can respond. That is it, you guys. That is the basics. So if you have gotten anything from this, it is about not scrolling anymore. Your goal on this earth is not to find the right diet. You have found the last nutritional advice you will ever need. Now it's a matter of whether or not you believe it enough to actually do it. Some of you are so afraid of actually finding the thing that is the thing that you don't have to keep searching, because it means you have to actually go and do the other stuff in your life. Clean up the messes in your life, because you no longer have to think about this. Believe it or not, when we work with women and we get to the point where like they know how to eat anywhere, anytime, at any place, they're totally confident with what they're doing. Now they got to deal with the real stuff in their life. And chasing the dream of weight loss, while it seems miserable, sometimes is kind of like a wall that we put up so we don't have to deal with the other things in life. So I want you to be thinking about why you haven't said yes to actually digging into this in a way that will work. If you put your toe in, it's not going to work. We need you all in. And that's it. Imagine being done with that forever. And if that's not what you're looking for, then ask yourself why. Because I promise you, your purpose is so much more than A, the weight on the scale, and B, finding the right quote unquote diet. It's got to be based in science. You have to be able to do it for the rest of your life. And you have to be able to have your kids do it too. If you can't say that all of those are true with any nutritional advice that you do, you shouldn't be doing it. And as my daughter celebrated her birthday, I was able to look at her and say, I am giving you the tools. I have not been perfect, but I know that you are going into your 18th year way better than I was at that point in my life. And if you don't have this figured out, you're not going to be able to show this to your kids. And if for no other reason, they deserve this. So I hope that this was helpful. We're going to get you back to the basics. How can we dig in more? I want you to keep plugging into our Diet Disruptor Squad. Get on a call with one of our coaches. I have a mini training. It's about 20 minutes long. It's going to dive deeper into all of this stuff. And then get on a call with one of our coaches. We can come up with a plan that works for you. We always say, no matter where you are in your journey, there's a place for you at this Disruptive Nutrition. And we mean it. Don't be scared. We've got you. We've got the answers, and we can support you however you need it. All right, you guys, happy Monday to you. Happy birthday to my beautiful daughter, Grace, to my amazing father, Frank. I love you guys so, so, so much. We're getting back to the basics, and I hope this was helpful for you too. Tell me what you learned. Put it in the comments, something that you're taking away from this.